Good morning. Welcome to Collision Coffee Talk. It's Christmas week. Yeah. So for some of us, or maybe some of you even, it's going to be a shorter week than normal. Some of you may be off completely this week. For those of you working in corporate America, congratulations. For everybody else in small business world, we're probably maybe going to get Christmas Eve, Christmas Day off. But a short week and a good week. And so Merry Christmas to all. Let's get going. This one's sort of fun for me because asTech's messed up again. So let's get it. That gave me a little pep in my step. I did make a mistake. Somehow I lost a picture that I was going to cover in this morning. So I'm just going to have a blank screen for that one and still talk about it. I guess for those of you that are listening on the audio version, you never see the slides anyway. I'll just pretend it's there and most of you will never know. But for today, we're going to talk about critical thinking in 2026 because I'm not sure anybody critical thinks anymore. It's almost like we ask everyone else to think for us. State Farm has finally put into writing that supplements are not human, that it's all AI, straight through processing. There's not a human looking at your estimates or photos and making decisions, which I was so excited to see in writing. We're going to talk about Copart and their AI phone calling for total losses. I'm gonna let you hear one. Oklahoma politics and insurance. Man, it is getting warm in the state of Oklahoma, particularly around the State Farm lawsuit. So we'll zero in on some of that and talk a little bit more, especially for you folks that are in Oklahoma. Please, please, please pay attention. We're going to talk about claims fraud and adjuster bias. And that's the screenshot I lost. So, we'll get in there and talk about that one. asTech is officially a three-ring clown circus. Um, it's there is no there's no contract with an insurer right now that'll make a lick of damn sense. And so for when a lot of companies try to go after that business, they sort of lose critical thinking. And that's what we're going to talk about with what's going on with this asTech thing that I got last week. We're going to talk about Caliber's new bonus program. I got a lot of emails on that last week, which was kind of like it took me a while to sort through what everybody was sending me. And it's just a critical thinking issue around uh, culture. So tired of that word. I am so tired of everyone saying it. And we have great culture, and my culture is better, and people will work without the right money, or they'll work for less money when there's great culture. And sometimes when we try to force culture and employee retention, we just make some mistakes. Critical thinking again. And then what does it take to be an adjuster? I got a hoot out of this one last week, and it was just I honestly couldn't stop laughing. And then I called one of my friends who's in insurance and does human resources, and we chuckled and then we sort of cried afterwards. So I decided that we talk about we talk about that one a little bit. All right, let's jump off really quickly and let's talk about this Copart AI thing. Look, I had somebody write a message on, I think it was YouTube. We released the Zip Tied Tesla episode 1. Um, and people were, it starts with a comic book, um, like a very noir themed Dick Tracy comic book kind of thing. Um, I let my editor have fun with it. He deserved to have something fun. Come on, folks, editing training videos for insurance industry and collision repair isn't very fun. So when this project came up, let him have fun. And of course, he used some AI generation. So people were like, oh, the company that hates AI uses AI. And I was like, you people are acting like I. But anyway, that'd be a bad joke. If I did that joke, I'm probably gonna get in trouble. So we're gonna move on from that joke. But I don't hate AI. I think AI used in the right places, paired with intelligent people, makes business sense. But when you just start throwing something out there, like uh, I should probably cover it, but I want to spend some more time with it. Chubb Insurance announced that they're basically going to lay off 70% of their claims force over the next like couple of years because they're bringing in AI. when the AI is not ready, and then it's not paired with trained people that can somewhat police it and ensure that it's not, it doesn't become a weapon that's yielded on innocent people. It's not a bad thing. If you think right now that it will replace something, the answer is no. I mean, will it replace something? Sure, but you get this nightmare that happens when you do. So Copart, early in September, the CEO did a lot of press conferences and bragging about all the AI that they were going to be able to do because the largest volume of what they did was repetitive, meaning it's always the same thing, and so we might as well just automate it and make it simpler. And there's sort of a yes there in some ways. Like a lot of what you do when it comes to calling and total losses and pickups and whatever, it is repetitive, but it's not necessarily an AI as you're going to hear, as much as it might be a form or where you ask a shop to fill some things out. So we're gonna play this. So let me make sure. I want to make sure this is set up so that you guys can hear this, um, so that we make sure that it's correct. I want to do that correctly. Okay, there we are. So well, let's just listen to the AI when it called a collision repair shop.
This is Tyler.
Can I quickly grab your name for my notes, please?
My name is Tyler.
Got it. Is the vehicle ready for pickup?
It is ready for pickup.
Perfect. Is the vehicle towable?
It will need a flatbed.
Okay. Do you have the key?
Yes, I have keys.
Perfect. The pickup address is 11029 Ashburn Road, Cincinnati, right?
Yes.
Great. What are your business hours?
We are open 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Got it. Are there any charges to pay when we pick up the vehicle?
Yes, will you send me an email and I can reply back with the charges?
I do not have an email address. Can you please provide the charges over the phone?
Nope, but I can send you an email.
Okay. Can you please provide the total charges and then you can email me the breakdown?
That's perfectly fine. If you would send me an email, I can give you my email address.
I do not have access to an email address.
Okay, so now we're in this endless loop of like, but the AI can't even do what the AI said it was going to do. So the shop's asking for, I'll email you the charges. I don't have an email. Then can you tell me the charges? No, I can email them to you. Then the next thing the AI said is, well, how about you give me the charges and then email me a breakdown? Great, what's your email? I don't have access to an email. What? That's the loop stuff that it's just not ready. There are some repetitive options, right? That will sometimes, it'll sometimes work, but then there's times when it's not going to work. And so you've wasted time and you're going to cause delays, which is going to cause additional fees when this wasn't ready to call a shop specifically, and probably a non-DR. So maybe your AI works for Copart. Here's a little feedback. Maybe it works for DRP shops. So maybe you can deploy that to DRP shops because there's probably not going to be some fees and some things to sort through. If it's at a non-DRP, then maybe you ought to put the human on the phone or allow a button option to just opt out. Or shops, you're just going to have to hang up on this. I just I just can't believe that somewhere in its loop, so somebody programs critics, there's critical thinking skills, and then somebody tries to program based on, it's a huge freaking flow chart, what you think the response, if they say this, then you say this, and then now it's caught itself in a loop because it says it doesn't have email, but then it tells you can email a breakdown of the charges. So yeah, you got a flaw in your program there, boys. You're probably going to want to fix that. But we see more and more of this, and we're seeing more and more in the insurance side You've now got Chubb saying we're going to go full bore AI, and we're going to lay off a large portion of our claims people. Um, I used to hear this all the time, and I heard it in the early 2000s when they decided that auto claims wasn't the same as homeowners claims, and that what we did on the auto side was repetitive, just dealing with body shops, and didn't really require all of the education and training and adjusting skills that the homeowner side needed. And so they started blowing up the auto claim side of the business a long, long time ago. Because there's this general thought, well, it's just repetitive, right? Customer takes a car to the body shop writes an estimate, we audit the estimate, we offer them a whole lot less than what they originally uploaded it for. Somehow or another, we come to an agreement and the car gets fixed and we moved on. And they thought that that didn't take much skill. This next evolution, um, as everybody tries to figure out a way to do more with less, which is interesting because we're in a time where there really is a fairly large applicant pool. I've had some people call me that, typically, let's say 2024, they'd have a job opening, they maybe get 50, 60 applicants. Now they're getting 300 to 400 applicants for a job opening, and so there's this it feels like there's more people out there. But this AI phone, I had somebody a couple of months ago pitch me AI body shop receptionist. I know there's some people in the industry wanting to pitch a lot of that to body shops. This is what happens. So this cautionary tale of if you're a body shop, your one thing you offer is personal touch and face-to-face service. That's your differentiating factor. That's something really that the insurers are just not doing and have stopped doing a long, long time ago. Um, don't stop doing that. That humans still want to see, talk to, and we say and I'm one of those people, just send me a text message. But when it's serious, I kind of want to I want to have a conversation, and everybody wants that. You want to feel special. You want to feel all of those things. Copart, maybe rethink that. I can't imagine this is going to go well with the shops that are not DRPs. Shops that are not DRPs. If you're providing your charges, I always tell people the charges is usually where things start to go off the rails, right? Everybody's super happy and wonderful and smiley until they realize that this thing that they've let sit there for 30 days or so has accrued a fairly large, significant amount of charges. How we discuss those charges, how we start that conversation is critical in negotiation. If you just over this phone I had one last week. Charges were like 40 grand. And I'm like, if I just do this automated thing and say that the charges are 40 grand, I'm pretty sure somewhere in that AI model, it sends off a red alarm or a flag, and now there's this predisposed bias. The person they don't know much about what it is. They just know that this dollar amount seems very, very high. And so we're already on opposite sides. Someone's going to come to the table mad. Someone's going to come to the table feeling like they got to teach you a lesson, or they're going to just pick up the phone and call the customer without talking to you at all, human to human, and go, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to pay any of those fees, and we're going to take it out of your settlement or whatever. So you've got to be very strategic about when and how you share charges, and that's going to be estimates too, which we're about to get to on the next one. But all of this stuff that just feels easy and fast, it would be easy and fast if it was a very simple routine thing. So if you're a DRP and you don't have any charges, you've got like the 1 hour of teardown minimum that they let you charge or whatever it is. This is great for you. If you're not a DRP, I see this being a nightmare. So had a couple shops send me the Copart IA recorded calls and go, listen to this. If you guys get any more, I'd love to hear them. I just want to see how this progresses. Now, everything's going to get a little smarter as it learns. But I just think we have to be, in other words, the technology may not be the problem. When and where it's used and who it's used with, it may be the problem. So that one's interesting. Well, speaking to starting things the right way and getting somewhere, right? I was so tickled to get this email that I'm sharing it with you. So if you guys are not on the video version, if you are just listening in, well, then I'm going to encourage you to jump on possibly YouTube and see the video version of this. So this particular vehicle has been in the shop for over 25 days. The shop had been doing, I guess, State Farm's traditional supplement method where you're uploading, through the portal. We used to call it B2B portal. I don't know what they're calling it now these days, but where you're uploading your supplements. They're on supplement 3. Now, by our supplement 3 is completed. Now we're on supplement 4. The the things that should be being paid on supplement 4 are pretty just uh, we're going to call, we're going to basically say the dullest crown in the box should be able to tell that these things are needed in the repair, right? I would not have had to call a physical damage specialist, a estimating supervisor, or anybody to know that these things were included that needed to be covered. But here we are in supplement 4, and the shop's getting the dumbest rejections and change requests. So the shop finally gets with the customer and they demand a physical inspection. So what that does is it kicks the claim out to this property complex tier 2 claim specialist. Um, okay, farm, I know you listened to a lot of consultants on this. But a auto claim that needs a physical inspection does not need a complex property tier 2. Usually those are the people that are reserved for coverage questions, liability investigations, like complex claims. A supplement is not complex. So the fact that it has to kick out of your system and go to this anyway, I've had lots of shops lately going, I've been told that every claim that comes to my shop's going to get it going to get assigned to these people. And I'm like, yeah, well, they don't like you. That's basically what that means. But here's what she finally puts in writing. So the shop and the customer demand a physical inspection. It gets kicked out to this adjuster. The shop's basically like, who the hell are you? If you look at this, pay special attention. There is no personalized email. So for our auto adjuster property complex tier 2 adjuster there, I have blacked out their name. I'm just so stinking happy they put this in writing. I don't want anything to happen to them if I can like protect them a little bit. Um, but it's got just the generic State Farm claims at statefarm.com. And then if you come down in the bottom, that's State Farm claims at statefarm.com. So you don't get anybody's personal email address anymore. I can still tell you what my email address was and my sign-on ID and my email. It's like burned into the brain of your hand. I did leave I guess Jake here is probably our supervisor. um so but here's what happened. First of all, this adjuster's being very nice to the shop. No qualms about that. Probably this is probably somebody that's got let's hope over 10 years experience. So they have a little bit more, less ego, a little bit more work in them. But the shop's basically going, what does this mean? That I'm in this special complex tier 2 thing. And she's like, great question. Um, it means now the claim's going to get a manual review. What happens with this specific type of request? You're asking for somebody to physically come and look at the car. It tells the estimatics team that we cannot use the other automated processes. We will need a human to physically review the estimate process and information that you have submitted to determine next steps on getting the estimate completed. So here's what we always knew. You guys are putting stuff into the damn portal and you're sending it up and it's going through AI. It's going through rules-based audit changes. There's no one sitting in a claims office with their own version of CCC or Mitchell looking at your estimate, looking at your photos, and going, well, I can kind of agree with that, but I don't agree with this, and I'm going to rewrite the estimate. That's why they get all panicked when you won't rekey their estimate because the system doesn't work unless you send in a supplement that they can either accept or do these change buttons. So there's not anybody, if you look in the old days, even if when we would be in office, because we'll go back, we'll use the state of Arkansas, for example. I'm trying to think claims offices. There was Jonesboro, Batesville, and maybe we had six or so for the state of Arkansas. Um, so there were some places in the state where there wasn't an office and there wasn't an adjuster. And no, I didn't want to put an estimator in a car and send them 3 hours in the middle of nowhere to look at one claim. So you would ask, could you go get some estimates? Could you swing by the agent's office, let them take some Polaroids or do whatever? Well, you would send your estimates in and we would look at them and then we would rewrite another estimate. We'd write our own version. Like we'd go, okay, well, we see what you've done there. Let me go in there and I don't like that. And okay, I know you got repair on there, but that's too much repair time. I'm going to go ahead and replace that door. What we would make our own decisions, educated decisions based on training experience, whatever. That's not what happens. This is all automated. That explains, I always tell people when they call me, because they're like, I'm talking to this adjuster and it's making no damn sense. I got a recording sent to me on a State Farm claim. I played the one for you guys that Peyton had, that involved the Opus map and all of that, where they're like, nope, doesn't matter. Don't send it to me. It's probably not going to help your case any because this piece of software says I can't pay you. And so many are frustrated going, how does that happen? Because the people that are calling you aren't really adjusters. Their job's not in, oh, their mind. In their mind, their job is not to adjust the claim. Their mind is to just tell you what the software is telling them to tell you, or telling you what it tells them they can pay or authorize or whatever. And so here is how this works. Now, what's the lesson here for us? A couple of things. If you're a DRP, there's really not much you can do. But for the rest of us, probably everybody needs to get off the hamster wheel. Um, when it started, when there were B2B portals and all of the stuff that started for shops to submit stuff in, there wasn't, because I was there at the time, so I can tell you, there was no nefarious plan. We weren't sitting there going, in 20 years, we're going to use this all against them. It really was a service, and we were using how can we best handle volume quickly for customers to the best of our trained ability. That's every insurer. It's not just this one insurer, but that was everybody. We're trying to figure out a way to maximize what we had without having 800 field estimators running around the country. Okay, so I should have. It's a rough morning. What time is it? It's 4:12 a.m. So, okay. As time went on, people that didn't have the same roots, and that's what I always have to explain to people. Typically the people when I started, the people that were at corporate had been in the field as like field estimators and then claims managers and then all of those things. And they had done that for 15, 20 years before they got to corporate. So they had a deep grassroots understanding of claims and looking customers in the eye. That's not really what we have anymore in corporate. And when you think about claim centers, closing of local claims office, the consolidation of claims within regions and then within super regions. A lot of the people today that have 15, 20 years have zero field experience. They started in call centers and they never had that. They don't get to draw in the 80s and the 90s in claims, right? So their vision and history of this whole process is completely different. So now they look at it and go, look, if we're forcing people into this funnel and we're making them run all of their information, and pretty much we've managed to narrow it down to 2 estimating systems within the country, and we force it all in this funnel, we can automate that. You go back to what Copart CEO said, well, it's really all the same thing over and over. We're doing repetitive all day long. Then in those minds, it makes sense. What they don't understand is that the technology isn't even close to being ready to review estimates. It's why we have so many like massive mistakes right now. Some shops fight back. Some shops just go, whatever. And I think that's what we see when we see these post-repair inspections where the cars are not even close, and it's kind of scary. So knowing that this is what you're fighting against, so to speak. You're just trying, I just want to get to a real human that understands estimating, that I can have an intelligent conversation with, that they can look at the data. I've done this OE research. I'm looking at the car. I'm reading the manuals. I'm reading, I'm iCar trained, you're iCar, whatever it is that we find the common ground on, that we can have an intelligent discussion about this car. If we go back to last week and you look at old Ed from State Farm, Ed's trying to say, look, we got tools, but it's just one thing in the toolbox. The adjuster should then look at the claim and make an educated decision by taking into account all information. Now, apparently at State Farm, that means you got to get to one of these property complex tier two adjusters. And even they don't have it. She's got to get with the estimatics team. We've created so many silos. How does a claim ever get handled? But bottom line, I got a car that's close to 30 days in the shop, and I do not have an even remote close estimate that the shop can even begin on. Congratulations, State Farm. You've automated garbage. That's really what you've done. So for shops, how do we get off the hamster loop? Well, maybe you do what this shop here did, and you demand a you demand a physical inspection. Maybe that's all you need to do. Maybe you stop sending in estimates. There's nothing in the policy. If you read any auto policy, there's nothing in there that says you have to choose a shop that uses X or Y estimating system and submits those estimates through our portal. So when you hear an adjuster say, we can handle your claim unless your shop does whatever, that's just not true. Now, they have a process. So, well, back to last week, we talked about there's a process and then there's the policy, right? I can have a process, a best practice, how I want most claims to work, because then but there's nothing that says the customer has to do that, right? The customer can have a body shop scribble on a gum wrapper, $10,000 to fix the car. If that's their competitive bid, then it's my job to adjust. I can't go, that's not acceptable. There's nothing in my policy that governs what is an acceptable or unacceptable submission of damages, whether that's a proof of loss form. You may go, well, okay, well, if they're not going to have this, whatever, then I want to, okay, proof of loss form. Great. Send it to me. We'll just take, we'll go through that. So maybe shops need to start sending in a bid sheet where it's just a single page that says, we bid to repair your car from collision damage, $10,000 in labor, $5,000 in parts, $2,600 in materials for a grand total of blah, blah, blah. And then a secondary page that says, these are all the parts we got to get. But there's absolutely nothing that says a shop has to write an estimate in either CCC or Mitchell. I still have a few shops across the country that still handwrite. Like, I love it. When I get estimates, when I would have claims on classics, those things weren't even in the system. So most of all of those. So when an adjuster tells you, we have to have it this way. No, you don't. It's not true. You don't have to have it that way. But we as shops need to start thinking about, how do we get out of this? I feel like it's stepping out of the matrix, right? Like you want the red pill or the blue pill. But if you're going to stay in this system or process that the insurers have created, then you're going to force yourself or your estimate or whatever to go through that AI, that audit, whatever they're doing. And right now, the best shot you've got is getting out of that. And it's not necessarily about getting a human on the phone, because we proved that, last week, if you're listening to Peyton's audio call. I don't think those adjusters are bad people. They're just not trained and they have no authority. So they're not going to buck a system and risk losing their job when, right now I can have a job and get 4,000 a claims job. I can get 4,000 applicants for that job in 24 hours. So they don't want to risk losing their job. They just don't have so they're just going to sit there and go, hey, the piece of paper or the program that this insurer I work for is using says I can't pay that. And then they're not trained to have that logical conversation. It's another reason why I love the Florida bill. Good, bad, ugly. I think we've got to put some laws out there that says, hey, if you're going to deny something and not pay it, if you're going to make a customer come out of pocket or whatever that is, then a human needs to jump in that file and say, I agree. I am a competent and trained human, and I agree with the software, or I disagree with the software. I think that's the smart play to do. Okay, I had several people send me this one over the last couple of weeks. Um, just to be clear, this is not a caliber problem, although this screenshot is a caliber screenshot, but this isn't a caliber problem. I'm seeing this a lot with MSOs, insurers, different people trying to uh, everybody wants to attract and retain talent. Um, you can't build culture when one particular person in the shop is treated differently than everybody else in the shop. First of all, I don't care how many NDAs you have people sign. People are going to talk about what they're getting paid, and people are going to talk about what their benefits are. So that's what they're sitting around or whatever. This particular move was for ATEX, particularly ATEX, where the company would cover their health insurance, right? We're gonna give you zero. You're gonna get your health insurance for free if you're an ATEC within the company. It didn't take long for everybody within the company to be talking about it. And what happened? It's what you see on the side. The estimators felt slighted because the estimators are like, body techs don't make anything unless we're writing the estimate correctly. And then most body techs are going, estimators can't write an estimate. The painters were mad. I guess the painters stay mad, and they're kind of like the princesses of the body shop. But all of these people just complaining. So I've told you I'm tired of hearing the word culture. I'm tired of hearing all of this about we have culture, we have culture, we have culture. Um, Culture isn't something you build a process for. Culture isn't a benefit. Culture is not a bonus. Culture is not, any of these other things. I understand people are trying to attract and retain talent right now in the market. Good talent. There's a lot of talent, or there's a lot of people wanting a job in our market, but a lot of them really suck. I get all of this. This just isn't the way to do it. It's created this anger amongst that workforce. I got people that were, I want out of here. They don't appreciate me. I want to go work somewhere else. Um, this apparently came out to every employee. It got blasted to them, which then they all started messaging each other or whatever. But as you go into next year, it is going to be important that we find good talent. We keep the good talent we have, which means to do that, a lot of you are going to have to completely revamp your body shop. It's going to be new pay scales, new pay structures, new hours, new whatever. I mean, you're going to have to it's not just a matter of giving somebody $2 more an hour or, oh, hey, I'm going to take care of your health insurance for you. Like that just doesn't, it doesn't make people want to stay. So something to do, just remember that whatever you do, everyone's going to talk, and they're not only going to talk. This is a great example. They're not only going to talk amongst themselves, they're going to send that crap to me and ask me about it on a national level. So just make sure what you're doing makes everyone feel valued, not just this particular set of people that you may be worried about having. All right, let's get to Oklahoma. Okay, Oklahoma has I feel I mean, so anybody ever see the musical Oklahoma? It's not that good, but so it's like Oklahoma has become the battleground of insurance and claims and contractors and body shops, and all of this stuff seems to be popping off at the same time. Now I was talking to a body shop in Oklahoma, and it's kind of like this, like really, all these things sort of came together at the right times or whatever. You've got, was it the attorney general? They told me he's running for governor. And so, of course, yeah, I'm going to use my platform as the attorney general to sue an insurance company in which everybody hates because you pay premiums, and this is going to make me feel important. The last time we had this was, some of you may remember, we had an insurance commissioner and attorney generals in Louisiana and Mississippi, and they partnered up like long lost cousins, and they started to go to war with insurance companies, and they passed some interesting, like, bills, laws, made some changes or whatever. Body shops in Mississippi and were feeling incredibly empowered at the time. And I loved the shops, and I still love the shops in Mississippi and Louisiana. That was my territory for a long, long time. And I would sit back and tell them, um, hey, I know this feels good, right? And I think some of this is really, really good. I think some of it's going to have some great things, but I want you to be very, very careful with like how far you push this or how boisterous you get with it, because there is always it's like a rubber band, right? Eventually it's going to snap back. And you want to make sure that you don't when if there is a snapback, we get a new governor, we get a new insurance commissioner, we get a new whatever, and that person got a lot of campaign funds from whatever, that it doesn't come back to haunt you, so to speak. All right. We have this process going on in Oklahoma. And so there's some interesting things. Some of it, like we've had the body shops sue the attorney general and the governor over the bill that was for storage, and that got a lot of attention. And then the attorney general decided that they were going to jump in on the lawsuit against State Farm. So a bunch of policyholders got together and sued State Farm over some hail claims and some roofing issues in Oklahoma. And the attorney general stepped in and went, I want to be a part and I want to know the discovery and everything that's going on. And then the Department of Insurance put out this notice on December 10th that they have this legislative package that they want to push through in 2026. Okay, when body shops or anybody that's not the insurance commissioner bring a legislative bill to the floor, it takes a while. If we look at Texas, which I'm not a no one will ever accuse me of being a fan of the Texas Collision Repair Association, but they worked a bill and they spent like 5 years on it before they finally got their right to appraisal bill. And they worked hard, and they are just about the time that you think you've got it to the floor and you think you're going to get a vote, the session closes and you're back to having to start over the next year. So they worked really, really hard. Okay, when the Department of Insurance, a state office, brings legislation to the floor, it typically doesn't wait like the rest of us have to. So it's got legs and it's going to push through. 99% of what is in this legislative package from this insurance department in Oklahoma is for homeowners. It's driven around homeowners claims, it's driven around hail, it's driven around that. But there are some things in there that if they pass and they apply to all claims are going to affect autos. So here's my warning. Number one, it requires mandatory mediation. That sounds good, but it's this Oklahoma's own mediation thing called Eagle. And when you look at it, there's not a whole lot to who are these mediators and where are they coming from. Typical mediation, um, you only want to go there when you got to. And sometimes contractually you have to, whether it's an insurance policy or it's an employment policy, like a lot of times non-competes or intellectual property agreements or any of those things that you sign have mandatory mediation or whatever, and it'll pick the state. Or so typically mediation when legislated, so to speak, comes from court appointed, court approved mediators, and they generally know nothing about auto. Homeowners claims are a little bit more frequently in court because they're so large. There's large dollar amounts there. So when we get mediation around auto, we spend a lot of the time having to sort of write a report to educate the person in charge of the mediation on what the real story is here. We don't want them to think that it's just one person wants $10,000 to fix the car and the insurance company only wants to pay $5,000. We have to try to, pull that up. So mandatory mediation is not right to appraisal. It's a little bit more expensive. Obviously, it's like umpire when you get a court-appointed umpire, but it's typically difficult to tell the story. Number two, they want to remove the ability for attorney's fees to be awarded. Now, pretty much all, I don't want to say I don't, that would be wrong. In most all states, consumer protection style lawsuits involve the ability to get your attorney's fees back. In this particular bill, the insurance commissioner says that it would stop frivolous lawsuits brought against insurance companies. Okay, I'm not aware of anybody that's running around filing frivolous homeowners and frivolous auto lawsuits. out there, but getting the attorney's fees is typically the only way that you can get an attorney to take these. Most of you body shops are already very familiar. When you call law firms and tell them you have an auto issue, they go, yeah, we don't do that because they don't feel like there's any meat on the bone. They're not going to make anything off of it. Even if you say, I'll pay your hourly fees, they're like, yeah, no, no. They want to be able to have something easier or more substantial. When you take attorney fees away, you're going to basically kill every auto suit that even a customer would think about bringing, or you're going to have to figure out a way to make it a class action to do whatever. So that's an extreme negative. I've been in insurance a long time. I understand nuclear verdicts. I understand frivolous lawsuits. I do. Um, but the judicial system is not set up for the little guy to fight for themselves. It's set up for the insurance company that has lots of money and law firms on retainer and all of that. And because I've been in that seat, this is not good. If you are in Oklahoma, and I know you body shops out there, you're really focused on what your association is doing. The shops that got together and filed the suits against the governor and the attorney general's office. Some of you shops have mentioned you're going to get a chance to testify here pretty soon on some of this stuff. I need you to voice your concern. I get it. And I think that the Department of Insurance here is only thinking about those $500,000, $1 million homeowners claims, and they're forgetting that somewhere in the state, Miss Smith is going to need to get some help with the $5,000 out of pocket her insurance company is asking her to pay to get her car fixed right. And that car is critical. It gets people to and from their jobs. It's how they support their families. It's how they go and get groceries. The automobile is so critical, which is why we made automotive repair a critical job function that could stay open during COVID. It's the backbone of our country. It really is. I mean, I don't. I mean, I feel like I should have like an eagle fly by, a flag should start waving, and we should all sing some the Pledge of Allegiance or something right now. But cars really are. I mean, that's how we got to get to work and we got to make a living, and we do that, and we generate revenue and we pay our taxes and we do all those things. So we can't. We can't. And when I used to sit in the insurance company and when we would have this discussion, I would be like, I get it, but no. Like we have to, there's the little guy. Sure, there's some law firm running ads 24/7 at 1 o'clock in the morning, but we do screw up and we do the wrong things, and sometimes we need to be sued for it. And and there's got to be a reason why somebody would want to take Miss Smith's claim when she doesn't have hardly any money to her name. Somebody's got to fight for her, and there has to be a reason for it, and we can't remove that. So, Oklahoma Insurance Commissioner, you're doing pretty good. Thank God you woke up and you're starting to do something, although probably it's just for political reasons. But eliminating attorney's fees is a bad thing. So, what else is going on in Oklahoma? Well, the Attorney General filed a petition accusing State Farm of racketeering. Okay, it's not the first time State Farm's been accused of racketeering. In fact, you can go read the article, and it'll take you back several years, and it'll even take you back to a good old Arkansas lawsuit called Avery versus State Farm. So you can go back and read a lot of those. I like the way that it gently brings in the mob and the cartel. That was a old J.C. Hallman here of the Oklahoma Watch wrote a pretty spicy article. Well, for those of you that aren't familiar with what racketeering is, it is a pattern of illegal activities like extortion, fraud, bribery, and arson used to gain profit, often through intimidation or creating a problem to sell a solution like a protection racket, which is really funny because I got accused of being a protection racket. Like last week, I had an attorney call me that was representing, well, we won't say what they were representing, but they were really mad. And by the time they finished, I was like, you may be right. I may have a little bit of a racketeering thing going on. I don't know if you're in my 20 group. I can't testify against you. That just seems like normal? Like, wouldn't that be like a conflict? You're one of our shops, you're in my 20 group. I can't testify against you because like we at some point we probably would have had a consulting session, but I got accused of people paying me for protection. Like you're paying to be in the 20 group for protection. And I just told the attorney, I don't really care why they want to be in the 20 group. I mean, if that's what they're worried about, fine. If they, hopefully they'll show up for a meeting or two. But I mean, it seems like basic, I don't know. It's like that would make sense, right? Like, why would you want to pay somebody and be a part of the group just to find them that they jump on a stand and test? I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Um, but but this is getting interesting. It's not going to go in. I here's shops. This sounds good, and I saw a lot of you reshare this, but you probably already read. It's not the first time someone has brought racketeering charges against an insurance company, and they just don't really stick. There's not an intent. They're just stupid. And stupidity is a defense. I think we did so probably a year ago we did a course or I taught a class and basically um, ignorance really is a defense. Everybody goes, ignorance is not, well, it's not a defense in criminal law, but in civil law, ignorance is kind of a defense. And we learned that 20 something years ago, which is why there are a lot of brilliant people that were home office consultants and whatever that didn't have jobs. Probably about 20 years ago is when they all lost their jobs because having them on staff was a liability. Right. Ignorance is bliss and defensible. We have dumb people that make dumb decisions, but it's not criminal or illegal activities. There's no one sitting in the corporate going, "Whoa, this is how we're going to bilk we're going to bilk people for billions of dollars." Doesn't mean people don't get bilked for billions of dollars. It just it's one of those things that's just not gonna help you very much. So as we kind of go on with this whole theme of this bias. We'll just call it a bias. That's what it is, right? There's nothing wrong with bias as long as you know you have a bias, and everybody has a bias. So when people go, I'm not biased, you're lying, we're all biased. But anyway, so when we're talking about where all this is going, one of the things that makes AI so um damaging or difficult right now is because of some of the human intent behind it, and it is biased. Um, I had not thought. I don't even know how long ago it was we shared. There was an article about do we teach bias in our training these days, the way we train adjusters? And I had to really think about it and go, man, I think we do. Um, I have such a limited, I mean, we don't train them much at all. And because we have a limited amount of time, we feel like we have to train them on the things we think they'll run into. And one of the things you quickly train them on is fraud and fraud detection and all that, because fraud is a really big part of the claims business. This article popped up. Um, and what I thought was great was when I was in claims, we would build bait cars. And if you want to go on YouTube, we would pay. And there was a company out of Memphis that was building bait cars first back then. And what a bait car was you'd park it in an area that was prone to theft. People would jump in it, think they were going to steal it, and then as soon as you got in it, like it locked the doors. These videos are incredibly hilarious. You can still find them on YouTube. But it was bait cars, and it was trying to catch some people stealing cars, discourage theft in certain markets. But I just thought it was funny that they built a bait house. So like I was like, a bait house. I never thought about that, but they built a house to catch these. There are fraudulent roofing contractors, just like there were fraudulent paintless dent repair companies that. So every time a hail claim happened, you had all these, tents pop up in town and everybody, and a lot of that was fraud. And then you always have these roofers that come to town, and some of that is fraud. That's just part of the business. I can't I can't change the way I treat people or I handle claims or whatever because there is fraud and there's two kinds. There's outright fraud, and then there's opportunistic fraud. That's when you had a real loss, you just try to enhance that loss a little bit to cover your deductible or whatever it is. Um, the hardest thing in claims was teaching adjusters not to overreact to that, where you feel like everybody's lying to you all the time or whatever, um, because they're not. Some people are, sure, but the majority of what you're going to interact with are people that are not. And sometimes I would work claims where it started legit. And sometimes the adjuster's behavior and the way you started treating the people made them think I'm going to get screwed. So I better go ahead and try to add a little to this, which is where it comes from when I hear body shops say, if you want 5 hours to fix the dent, you ought to write it for 10. There's that feeling. So there's that bias on both ways. So I just thought this was interesting that there was a bait house that was catching roofers, damaging roofs and doing stuff. And I was like, this is wild. I mean, I knew we had bait cars. I didn't know we had bait houses, but this is where I lost my screenshot that I wanted to talk about. Because at the same time that that thing came out about um, the the fraud, State Farm's getting accused of racketeering. You got this guy bending shingles and doing stuff, and I've got files where shops are adding damage to cars and enhancing estimates and all. So it goes everywhere, and you've got but this there was a screenshot and I lost it, so I can't show it to you. But it was in a claims adjuster group, and it was a person talking about how they really liked the AI that was handling auto claims because it was cutting out all the fraud that these body shops were doing. And I kind of read it, I screenshot it, I read it again, I send it to Larry. That just sometimes I send him things just because I want to see like how angry he'll get and whether he'll like text me back in all caps or whatever. But to have a discussion on this one because AI is not catching fraud, people. If you think that the AI that's filtering the rule system, that's filtering the estimates that shops are sending them, it's not catching fraud. But that's how the adjuster sees it. So by the way that they've been trained, when you upload a $10,000 estimate and their AI cuts it to 3, they think that you put $7,000 worth of fraud on the estimate. That's how they're thinking. And that's really got me going. No wonder I can't talk to them. No wonder I can't have like a, hey, did you read that procedure? Are we looking at the same picture? Did you? Because no, they didn't look at the pictures. When we go back and look at files, they're not even opening the pictures. So why am I sending pictures in? Because nobody's looking at them that has 2 eyes and can make a decision. That's how they feel. And so Larry and I were working on a claim last week where the shop wrote an estimate. It was terrible. I mean, like they're supposed to be one of the best. It's a legal case, so we'll just put it that way. They're supposed to be one of the best shops in the country, and they make covers of magazines, and they go around the country and they give speeches and whatever. And we're like, God, they're terrible. So we're looking through all of these different files, and we get to this one, and like, I always say like when it comes to the car, that's Larry's thing. Like what I know is just enough to be dangerous, right? You will never find me testifying to the car. Um, but we're going through the files. And so Larry pulls up this vehicle and he's going through it. And there's like I think $9,000 worth of stuff that was on the estimate that I don't want to say wasn't needed, but didn't apply to that particular situation. Didn't apply or whatever. So he takes that off. Then he rewrites the car to what it should be, and he adds another 17,000 to the estimate. And so we were just kind of sitting there laughing because there's somewhere somebody's going to be thinking we saved $9,000 worth of fraud. We really didn't. The cost of the repair is the cost of the repair. So you always have an insurance company go, the only thing that matters is our estimate. You have a body shop over here that writes their estimate based on the car. Those two things never have to be the same. There's nothing that says that those two things have to be the same. It only matters what the cost of the loss was. And somehow we got off this track as insurers where we think the only thing we owe is what a body shop sends in. And I've literally watched people give testimony where it's like, well, if the shop didn't ask for that, we're not going to pay for that. How we got there, I don't know. Because there's nothing in the policy that says we only pay what a shop writes an estimate for. It says we owe the cost of the loss. And we need to determine the cost of the loss. And so if we're going to send out little emails that say things like, doesn't matter what your body shop does, your body shop has to agree to our estimate, then get to estimating. Like, this is what you need to do. And your AI isn't your brain. So if there's this conception that this software that you're funneling all these estimates through is catching fraud, which I think that's probably the bias. I think that's what this adjuster posted and got something like 243 comments on, with everybody piling in and going, yeah, these shops suck and they charge for all these things that they wouldn't charge customers, that they only charge when they know an insurance company's paying the bill or whatever. That's the mentality. That's the bias. Shops, sometimes you write really stupid things. Sometimes it's because you want to get paid more, so you start thinking of all these things you're going to throw on the estimate because you heard somebody else said that they got paid for it somewhere, or you're in a forum. That's why Larry and I do not show the sheets. When people go, post the whole sheet. No, because there are things on that estimate that you will not understand, and you'll just go, oh, I'm going to copy that. Larry and Kristen got paid for it, so I can get paid for it too. And then you cross over this line of putting things on the estimate you can't explain, or you may not need. It may be like the one Larry reviewed where he took the $9,000 off and then wrote double that back on the estimate or whatever. All of that is just this soup that we're in. You have all of these companies, whether it's your tractables, your CCCs, whatever it is, telling insurance companies that they can audit estimates and they can give you a start. I don't think they're selling it wrong. I don't think they're saying, we're going to tell you everything the car needs, period. And there's no need for extra whatever. But then the insurance company hasn't built a system that allows for the extra whatever, just like the Opus issue from last week. And what happens is the estimates now are terrible. That's coming back for what the insurance companies are saying. They're not even close. It's not like, I mean, I used to have arguments over extra tint time, clear coat time, feather prime and block time. Like, that stuff that's a negotiable item. I don't mind when an adjuster wants to have that conversation. But the things that are being knocked off estimates now make no sense. And it really is this bias. So insurers, be very aware that your people, by either how you've trained them or how they're being supported by peers or whatever, really feel like there's this rampant fraud in the collision repair industry. They feel that way about the DRPs. I mean, every time I talk to a DRP, they feel like they're getting audited and cut and change request even more than the non-DRPs are. And I'm like, why would I be a DRP if I had to still keep like fighting for my estimates over and over? If we don't correct that, insurers, if you don't get that corrected, then there's no AI tool that's ever going to help you. And then what's going to end up happening, you're going to end up losing a very large class action that may infringe or prevent your ability from ever using that AI. And then you're screwed. At this point, you're almost better off as an insurer to just pay whatever the shop uploads. You've got no liability in that, right? Shop uploads an estimate, you stroke a check, close the claim, so to speak. If the shop's wrong, not your circus, not your monkey. You didn't tell them how to fix the car. You didn't tell them to change repair to, replace to repair. You didn't tell them you weren't covering that calibration. Like if you want to discuss pricing on certain operations, but other than that, you're better off and cheaper to just pay what the shop uploads than trying to use anything that's controlling the estimate, because now you're going to be not indemnifying correctly and you may end up in a loss, because everybody goes, well, if we didn't get it right, the shop should have filed a supplement. Have you tried to have a supplement with yourself lately? Have you, I mean, like shops are trying to write supplements and you're still saying no. But then we go back to this, the customer have to get the car repaired to be compensated properly? And the answer on that should be no. I owe the claim for the amount of the loss, not just for whatever the shop charges. And so we've got to kind of get back to what we mean here. All right, asTech the Clown Show. I don't like asTech. I've been very clear and transparent about that. I don't like it for a long history of reasons, not just the Geico crappy issue. So when this one popped up this week, I had to reach out and I had to ask for more clarification because I thought surely this couldn't be correct. Nope, nope, it was correct. And I think it's another example of when companies try to do business or promise their souls to insurance companies, it's just never going to work. I mean, whether it's Gerber, whether it's asTech, whether it's whatever. So in this case, asTech does have some field technicians. I don't know how many of those they have left. I don't know what their competency levels are. I don't even know what tools they're using. I don't care. But in this situation, hmm, Body Shop is about an hour away from the asTech location. So for whatever that national pricing agreement is, I think it's probably fair to say that that's already way too low for the service. When you think about the technology and skill required, much less hardware and facilities, but then technology and skill and all that. I think that those pricings are way too low for those services, right? But regardless, all right, asTech's facility is an hour away from this body shop. asTech will send two techs to drive to the body shop. They will pick up the customer's car. They will drive that car an hour back to their facility. They will do the calibrations and everything, and then they will drive it an hour back to the body shop with another tech because once we let go of the customer's car, somebody has to take our little tech home for the set fee. You can't do that. Like at some point, common sense has to kick in, and you go, you know, it's too far away. Two techs, 2 hours in a car, performing a set of calibrations that I'm probably already poorly compensated for on the first place. There's no, you're going to work yourself broke. Plus, liability, exposure, travel time, just all of those things that you just start checking and going, that's a bad idea. And then I was like, well, who buys the customer's gas? And everybody went, "What are you talking about?" Well, you're driving my car for 2 hours. I mean, it's probably not a Prius. Like you're burning some gas. Number one, for a lot of the calibrations, if I'm going to be leveled and fluids and everything, so it either needed a full tank or an empty tank, whatever the procedure says. And then you're running my gas out. So where's gas on the estimate? Like you burned a lot of gas. Who's paying for it? Well, we don't buy gas. I brought my car in with a half a tank. I didn't tell you to drive it 1 hour that way and 1 hour back and put all those miles and burn all the gas on it to do what could be done locally. So, I mean, this local scanning and calibration company feels like they're losing all their business to this thing that's an hour away. So this could have been done locally and not have incurred the mileage on my car plus gas plus whatever. I'm like, who's doing that? Like, well, we haven't accounted for that. Probably want to account for that because at some point they're going to wreck a car. It's going to happen. Like just not through any fault of their own, so to speak. Like it could be fault of their own, but accidents happen. That's just the way that it is. I mean, my adjusters driving around in their cars got in wrecks all the time. So wasn't like an intentional, although sometimes I did have some HR issues when it came to company cars. But that's just dumb. But everybody that enters a singular agreement with an insurance company finds themselves in this situation. You promised you were going to do this for this amount of money. Like, and you'll have somebody in the insurance company go, I don't care. I had this, didn't I cover this with the Elite Tech issue with State Farm? Where State Farm was like, I don't care, we're gonna make them do it for X amount of dollars. They work for us, not the other way around. I was like, ooh, okay. Like interesting. But so you've got somebody sitting out in this field, wherever this is, with an hour away going, I'm not allowed to say no. So I gotta go do this and all of this lost time and money and I got two techs wasting 2 hours plus more than that because as a business owner if you've ever sent anybody to like go pick up parts or whatever there's always like you're just kind of like I'm out of the office, I'm gonna stop off and get myself something to eat, I'm gonna do whatever, so it's never just a straight there and a straight back kind of thing. um, this is how you work yourself out of business. when you don't have that, when you're not making smart decisions based on good sound business techniques, you're making decisions based on what you promised your daddy, so to speak, and having to do all that. So this is just really a really dumb thing. Now, here's what I'm going to ask you. I'm kind of curious if this happens in more than just this one place. So if you people are aware of situations where people are driving exorbitant, that's not probably not the right word. I need more coffee. Um, People are driving too far to do services for them to be profitable. Plus, they're driving customers' cars around this much. Let me know. Just drop me whatever you have wherever you're at. You can put it in the comments, either on the social media pages on YouTube or whatever, and just tell me what your experiences have been. um, I don't expect anybody's going to change those business models or whatever, but it does tell me just sort of how someone sitting in a corporate office somewhere, whether that's Dallas, Texas, or whatever, makes a deal with an insurance company and really doesn't think about what that really is going to take in a field environment to deliver that. So I'd be interested. Speaking of Captain Kangaroo, I don't know if are you as old, anybody out there as old as me that remembers Captain Kangaroo's picture pages? You remember that? Was Bill Cosby in picture? Am I allowed to say Bill Cosby and not get taken off of the air? But, Captain Kangaroo in picture pages. Okay. What does it take to be an adjuster? Some of the first lawsuits from, I want to say maybe 10 years ago around artificial intelligence that I started being like following and involved in were HR related. The case in New York with the Teachers Association in New York, where the AI had decided these teachers that had been, long tenured, highly liked and celebrated teachers were being fired because the AI decided they weren't smart enough anymore. Um, and the teachers unions were trying to sue and some other things. So like AI and HR makes a lot of mistakes, particularly for certain niche type jobs. Now, I get it. If you're getting 4,000 applications for a job, how do you somewhat go through them? So this post, here is a person, poor Justin, who's trying desperately to get a job with an insurance industry and keeps failing the pre-screening testing or whatever. And it says, I need tips on the progressive pre-interview assessment. um, I did some research and answered as extroverted as possible. So the guy's trying to get a job. So he did some research to try to figure out how to trick the AI. Awesome. So he tried to answer as extroverted as possible. Other than the shapes part, I felt everything else was obvious, and I just have no clue how. And I was like, shapes part, what the hell? Why are we having somebody that wants to do auto claims um, do a shapes test? I know if I go back, we had some interviewing like questions and testing, yeah, maybe like late 90s or whatever. And so for homeowners adjusters, because you were measuring roofs and rooms and doing whatever, there was some math and some geometry on a test. Like, do you know how to find a square? And the square feet of a square or a triangle, and because you're going to do basic geometry as a homeowner. Auto, we don't do that. But I thought, why is this pre-screening going through a shapes test? And is it one, okay, we've got people Googling how to beat the pre-interview. So then is it really effective whatsoever? But then has some company talked Progressive into do this for pre-screening? And is it actually maybe screening out the people you want? Maybe maybe you're testing them and on things that don't matter. If I want somebody that's like if I want somebody that's extremely mathematical, I would do a shapes test for like an engineering job, an adjuster measuring roofs, math heavy, whatever. That makes total sense. If I'm looking for an auto adjuster in office, I want somebody that has empathy, that has social skills. Like that's what I want there. The people, my brother has like he's the biggest right brain person, mathematics, like aeronautical physics. Like he's a genius. His kid's a genius. He's a PhD. in engineering. My nephew does. That side of the family, brilliant. Me, not so much, right? I struggled with algebra. Like it was all I could do to get a C to get through that class. Like my GPA in college is not what it should be because of that one C that I had, and it infuriates me. But then I learned GPA didn't matter after I graduated. So there was that. But I there's a skill set like super smart, brainy people, awesome. Got to have some of those. And then you need people that are more, hey, look, a castle, goldfish, like human beings, and want to have that relationship and whatever. They make really good adjusters, and they have that. You got to have that heart to want to work hard for other people that you never see. Like I don't ever get to see your face, and I don't get to know you, and I don't get to do any of those things, but I've got to love you enough to handle your claim in the right way. And there's a certain type of person for that. And if you don't have those, if you have people that are not that way, then you end up with people that my job says this is all I can do. And they don't want to help people, and they don't have empathy, and they don't. And so AI and HR, but I'm just sitting there thinking that um, I, if shapes testing is a pass fail thing at Progressive, it explains a lot. If you those type of people that are going to pass that engineering, logical progress, like that side of the brain, those are the math people, those are the whatever. Shapes is not a problem solving thing. There are other things to test for problem solving and critical thinking and all that, but when you get to shapes, that's a mathematical thing. And so now I'm thinking, oh yeah, now it explains a lot about within the last 5 years, the people that are working claims for that company and the conversations you have with them. And I feel like it's like a 10-man conversation. Like, do you have a heart? Like, do you have a personality? Do you have friends? Do you even have a dog? Is there a dog that likes you? Um, but it explained a lot and kind of made me go, huh, thanks to now. Well, we've spent a lot of time today talking about critical thinking and AI and some other things. Okay. Um, the world as we know it is not set up for you to be a problem solver or a critical thinker. The world, the way it tries to tell you that you only need to know what you need to know in the moment you need to know it, and someone will give you the answer. You can YouTube it, you can Google it, you can do whatever. You don't have to know it. The problem is that sometimes you Google it and you get a wrong answer, whether it's the attorney that tried to use AI to write their legal brief in the Ohio case. If you don't know it, then you don't know what you're being told. So critical thinking and problem solving, great. It allows me to work through a lot of issues at the shop. It allows me to work through issues on claims. But it also allows me to think through the things that people are telling me. I think you should listen to me because I think I'm awesome. But maybe I'm not. So maybe if you have your own independent thinking and you can critically think and you can problem solve, you can listen and decide whether you agree with me or not. Maybe you don't agree with me, but you think there's some decent points. Or maybe there's somebody else in the industry that you listen to and you go, yeah, I agree with them. Or now you listen to them because maybe the whole industry is pushing them down your throat and you go, yeah, none of that makes sense. Now that I think about it, none of what you're saying, we really have to be able to critically think. We're going to have to be able to think our way through all of the barriers that are in our way right now to getting paid, like whether it's getting past the AI and not just getting any human on the phone, but getting a human on the phone that has the skills and the training to actually have a conversation with me about what that car needs. And that car may be an anomaly. If we had another 100 cars hitting the front end, may not need any of that. But this car needs it, and here's why. How do we get through that? This critical thinking class is not me lecturing. I just want to let everybody know it is it's the culmination of like 15 years of training and corporate training. It's LMS modules. It's designed for the whole staff. And that can be technicians. Sometimes when I put technicians through it, we find major red flags that let me know that the technician probably is struggling to read repair procedures and put them in play, right? Critical thinking and problem solving, it's like part of my reading comprehension too. I can read something and then I can figure out how we're going to do that on the car. Um, this course is like with everything we do, it is per rooftop. It's not per person unless you're a shop that wants to you want me to track your individual employees. We can put them in our LMS and we can make them all take it and we can put some tests on there and just make sure. I don't test people because I'm testing for their um, comprehension. I put tests in there just so I can make sure they cover each block. Like there's no skipping a block in the LMS. We can do that. But for the most part, I tell people just buy it for your shop, make it like a lunch and learn. You guys go through the modules and just start having conversations about critical thinking because it's going to be in just flux. Like any class, like there's classes we taught 3 years ago that I would not teach now because the industry's changed and what it doesn't have any value anymore. There's some classes that are almost like continuous. And I'm pretty sure by the time we get to the middle of 2026, I'm going to be teaching something completely different that's popped up because things have changed. You're going to be constantly changing. The industry will change, your business will change, your customers will change. And so you can't wait for somebody to come in and tell you what to do. Critical thinking and problem solving skills, I think, are the one thing that will either make or break everybody in 2026. If you've got to wait and have somebody tell you all the time what the next step to take is, there are people out there that will do that. They would gladly do that, whether it's jobbers or paint companies or people that you're spending money with. But you may not be getting the best information, but at least somebody's telling you what to do, right? But the problem is you're gonna have to wait on it, and while you wait, your business will suffer. So I really want everybody to just have this critical thinking and problem solving. I took the best of what I've had over the 15 years, put them in the LMS modules. They're short classes. A lot of them are voiceover, different um, other people teaching, corporate professional trainers or whatever, but just the best of the skills. And so I think working through that specifically for your front office people, awesome. If you have time, it's good for your technicians because, like I said, it's going to point to you where there may be some issues. Some of you already know your issues back there, but you can't hand a technician 400 pages of something and then get mad at them if they don't get it right. If we didn't help them get it right. I don't know if that makes sense. So you can go on the website and you can find the problem solving and skills class. You can also email if you don't want to do that, you just want to email Melanie. Okay, it's Christmas. I just want to let everybody know. My entire team is off this week for the entire week. I am technically off this week. Um, but I will be here until Friday. So we're sort of working. Melanie went home to Illinois to her family. Everybody's traveling for the holidays. I just am going to take off as soon as Christmas Day here with the family, and then me and the kid are going to take off on a road trip for, I think I'm leaving Friday and coming back on Tuesday. So there will be no coffee talk next Monday. But other than that, no one's in the office at Collision Hub this week, but you can email Melanie if you need anything. She is going to check her emails occasionally because she's just that kind of person. And so is Holly. Me and Avery are like, nah, we're out. So you can reach them if you want help finding the critical thinking class or any of the other problem solving, documentation, negotiation, any of that stuff that's more like front office, like coursework that's not lecture or live training or whatever. Please reach out. Now I will also say if you don't take my training, at least take somebody else's training because it's not estimating. Estimating training, blueprinting training is not going to help you in 2026. Please do not waste your money or your time on blueprinting or negotiating. I don't think negotiating training, estimate, I don't think any of that in 2026 is going to help you until you teach yourself critical thinking. And it's not your fault that the school system doesn't teach it to you. The world doesn't teach it to you. We all have Hey Siri, Hey Google. We have all of these things where if we want an answer, we think we just type it in and it gives us to us. And we have to be able to think through that, whether it's true, Is that all the information? Is there more that I need? All of those skills are what you're going to need. So I wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy New Year. You will not see me until, well, you may see me, but Coffee Talk, we will not have another one until I think it's January 6th. I think that's the next Monday because I'm out over like I'll be gone the Monday of the new year. And so then the following week. So I'm gonna have a little break. But I will see you guys in 2026. Have a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. Bye.